Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Strife's Sanctum podcast. My name is Citizen Strife, and it's that time again to delve into anime, an anime discussion for the last couple of weeks. I will say that in some instances, some shows had finished, took time off, didn't finish their dubs just yet, stuff like that. So this is kind of like winter into spring, because a couple of shows that I wanted to watch are already done, and I've watched a couple of episodes of each. A couple of shows specifically I want to get into. I do need to post in the episodes I wasn't going to watch. Snowball Earth, I think that's what it was. As I watched Snowball Earth, and it was about kaiju fighting, and I'm like, it's probably not my thing. So, I dumped it in like a minute. I wasn't all that into that sort of thing right now. Shows. Snowball Earth. Okay. So that's spring. But I'll worry about that later. I want to get back to stuff I have finished. Frieren Season 2. I still got an episode to go, looks like, but they finished up the fight with the Divine Revolta and his merry band of demon misfits. Again, the biggest thing about that is that, whenever Frieren does fighting, it does it super fucking well. It's fantastic. And, man, they pour all their budget into that stuff. It's really good. But what I love about this is they find time to do the goofy shit. Metoda is just amazing, considering she had no character in the exam portion, and then she gets I like cute things, I like elves, I like hugging elves, I like patting elves on the head, and it becomes her nice defining characteristic. I'm like, okay, I like her a lot. And then having Fern basically just be like, no, I don't want you in my party to mess up Miss Frieren because it's annoying. It's just great. Because it's characters you don't expect to have cool, weird backstories, having weird backstories and front stories, stuff like that. So I'm happy. To Your Eternity finished up, and I think it went okay. I will say that they're not done with it, but they kind of closed off this arc. It sure didn't look to me. They had a postscript scene just introducing into their character, so I don't, if they want to go into the future with this, they could. They were pretty definitive with the whole, we found ways to stop the knockers, or at least for now, stop the knockers. And then a lot of people going away, so to speak. Fushi outliving his friends, basically. But knowing that they can just bring it back anytime, because Fushi's immortal, they can write any story they want. They could bring it back into the old school era. They can make it even into the future. And that might be the next step, is just go tons and tons and tons of time into the future and then be like, Fushi did this, and, descendants of whomever do whatever. And I think what I will say is Season 3 reaffirmed my interest in the show quite a bit, because I didn't like how Season 2 kind of progressed, because it was a bit, slow and kind of goofy and a little, it had good characters in it, but nothing I was really, engaged with. And even if, Fushi's friends were the big band of Fushi's friends, it was still, they had a story they were telling about Fushi, Mizuha, and other people, and I was like, okay, I'm gripped by some of the weird shit they do. Not all of it. Creepy pedo big brother guy. I wish they hadn't done that. But what can you do? But in terms of a show that was really, really freaking good in Season 1 and sort of okay, but in Season 2, I was like, yay, you're back to the good. Now, hopefully, if they keep going, which I don't see any reason they wouldn't, just in a they've made it a definitive, we're not going to stay in the present. We're going to move forward again. how do they do that? Like, Fushi, like, they could end the show now if they wanted. Like, right away. But I just get this feeling they're not done yet, and I'm happy. Anyway, Trigun Stargaze, not a whole bunch new happening. Like, it's finishing up, but, was it Livio? Joined Wolfwood and Vash, and they're going to, try and stop Knives and his whole bullshit. And Legato gets, like, this huge fight scene, and I don't know if I like it. How do I describe it? Because in the original show, because they didn't have a lot of action-y, budgety stuff, their action scenes, because it was very old school, were very subdued. You had some fighting, but you had a lot of goofiness. But when you had to be serious, they kind of stayed very stock still and just let the characters and the drama do the work. Because this is 2026 and Orange is fucking good at fight scenes, much less Frieren. Fuck, Orange is great. But while I was enjoying a lot of the renditions of the Gung Ho guns, Legato, I think, got worse because you're focusing so much more on Knives and he gets so much more screen time. Legato, I mean, was already a flunky, but he lost a bit of an edge. He turns from a warped, disturbing, like, I know better than you, and you just have to accept that I'm going to mess with your mind because Knives wants me to. He turns into, like, a weird religious zealot and spends a lot of his time not groveling, but really feeling insane, but not in a, like, threatening way. More insane in the, hey, look at all my crazy powers now. I'm like, he has a weapon, of all things, because they needed to have the cool fight scenes, but he doesn't use, like, he uses his mind manipulation shit well, and it gets across, but again, it's a lot more of the show, don't tell kind of thing, and you really lose a lot of the impact that Legato had being like, I know I'm the secondary main villain, but I'm basically the main villain because Knives doesn't show up until the last 2 fucking episodes. If that, They save Knives for when it counts. So Legato's role just falls down. That being said, it's a big spectacle of crazy nonsense, and it's fun spectacle, crazy nonsense. So if you like big spectacle, crazy nonsense, still fine. That is until the ending. I'm not sure if the ending is going to stick the landing or not. Who knows? Hell's Paradise. Speaking of doing the same stuff, more fight scenes, and lots of fight scenes, and killing stuff, and more killing stuff. Just, learning about other characters. And this going into Shion, I think, and how his blindness affects him somewhat, but how he's able to deal with the monster of the day. Because that's really what this season is. I talked about it in the last episode. It's a bunch of different fights with different people going against different things, and they fight different stuff. And, it means a lot, but at the same time, they kind of just don't have emotional weight behind it because they're fighting 5 or 6 different dudes, and it's kind of like, okay, well, I don't know if I care about all these 15 million dudes when there's still a main dude you gotta fight, So Gachikuta annoyed me in season 2, and this one kind of does too. So it's kind of just like, all right, it's just fight scenes for the fight scenes. Like, if you want shonen, go. It's great, but I kind of want a chance to breathe a little bit rather than, hey, I'm just doing another fight scene in another episode and we're going towards the end. Let's fucking go. Sentenced to be a Hero. Not a whole bunch happened because this one did not finish their episode. They uploaded it, but they didn't dub it, so I haven't watched it yet. So until they dub it, that one's on a break. Shiboyugi pretty much ended, so I have nothing new to say on that one, which is annoying. You and I are polar opposites. This one is going to be interesting. I want to tie Ramparts of Ice into here because they're made by the same author. So, not a whole bunch in polar opposites, except they're going on a class trip, so they're doing class trip things. But it's Miyu doing, or Suzuki doing Suzuki things, and Tani doing Tani things, and it's fun because it's great. And the energy, every time I see this show, I'm just reminded, oh my god, I love it because the energy is great. It's kind of like Konosuba, like, like too much of it is bad because it's too fucking good, but it's like too much is too much. But you get it like once a week, it's just lovely. The energy's lovely. Kind of, no, actually, like Don or Fooly Cooly, but in a less like like a less like goofy, chaotic, insane, coked up kind of like alien insanity. It's the Suzuki has too much fucking energy and it's too fucking comedic and it can be a little grating. But then I wait a week and then it's like, oh my god, I miss this because everything else is too fucking dramatic. So I need this, So it's like I could get sick of it if I have it too much, but I get just enough of it and I'm reminded how good it is, which is contrasted by Ramparts of Ice, which is on Netflix. The best way I would describe it is if anybody's ever seen Real Life, and the main character of that, Chizuru, has this weird thing where she smiles, but it looks creepy as shit. But it's played for laughs. This one is like Hikawa has a crazy set of eyes that scares the shit out of people, but she plays it because she was bullied. So that's the kind of shit we're going with here. It still has the energy and the goofiness sometimes, but they dial it way down. So the way I would describe it would be the serious moments of polar opposites as if it was the whole show. And even the comedic stuff is played way more deadpan and straight-laced. So I like it, but I also don't know how much of a show can be carried by, okay, Hikawa was bullied, but doesn't know how to deal with people, but she's got the crazy eyes, but she's not really crazy. She's just not sure of herself and how to deal with people, but she's got the crazy eyes, Like, yeah, it's played for a drama more, so I think there's going to be more weight to this show than there is polar opposites, but I don't know if I'm going to like it as much because there's got to be more than Hikawa, who you understand her plight because you've seen this kind of character a million times before, but usually it's going to come down to the extra characters and how it does. Unlike Suzuki, who basically just owns the fucking screen and can, charm her way to a good show by just being there, the Mau Mau effect. This is going to take some work to get used to because it's from the same person. So I don't doubt that it's good. It's just a different kind of good. Let's move on. Kaya-chan isn't scary. I liked this show quite a bit. It finished up and did just what it needed to do. I called it Mieruko-chan if it was actually good and had a point. This is what it had. It had, oh shit, there's actual stakes, an actual build-up, and an actual, emotional arc to it. Not anything so crazy, but it did enough in the last few episodes that they were, they were building up to this, that it didn't feel like it suffered from the 2-episode finale plot problem. It more so did enough that when it needed to get to those 2 or 3 final episodes, they really brought it home. The show was good enough for what it was all the way through. Kaya-chan does a thing. She kills the ghosty things, and her teacher is nice and does nice teacher things, but Kaya's family is really freaking weird and has the familial weirdness of the demon shit in them, and the supernatural stuff. So you have a lot of stuff working in its favor, even if a lot of the ghost stuff and apparition stuff is stuff you would have seen before in Mieruko-chan or any of the other yokai or ghost stuff. So none of that is special. None of this show is super amazing, but it does enough it's fine, and I like it, and I enjoyed it the whole way through. And there's enough stuff there that there's meat on it that I'm not just sitting there going it's junk, because there's a couple of shows that are junk, that I still enjoyed. Love Through a Prism. I forget if I finished this one on the last episode. Basically, just saying, like, I'm happy it ended the way it did, but I kind of wish it would have ended in the more subversive way than the more traditional method. But I understand why they did it, because that's kind of the happy ending, as opposed to, oh, we're in dark, we're in monochrome now, we're all sad, and life just moves. Like, no, I think if they had have just had stakes involved, I think the last couple of episodes would have been great. And then no, they were just like, nah, we found out bullshit ways to come up with it. Yeah, I do remember, I think I did finish it in the last update, because I mentioned, like, how Kit survives his weird ordeal and just what kind of bullshit he goes through. And it's just kind of... Anyway, it's a fine show. It's not the best of the season, but it was fine. Adventurer's Daily Grind of the year of age 29. This week's episode was awkward. Actually, the last 2 weeks' episodes were awkward. Hajime goes bald because Ryurui is dumb and gives him a haircut and fucks up, and like, she has this weird, like, I don't know why they kind of portray her as, like, clingy and jealous. She's a fucking kid. And, like, I don't think that... Like, I would think if she was, like, his age, it would make more sense. But she's not his age. She's like a 10-year-old, and then she turns into a 17-year-old because plot reasons. I don't fucking know. But they always turn to her, and it's like, isn't the show harem enough? And it has no stakes? It's dumb. So it's like, whatever. So then Ryurui gets, like, this new succubus power, and she uses it, and it's dumb. And then it's like, oh, well, it's using it for this reason. Here's our cliffhanger. I'm like, you do know that the super badass thing about Hajime losing his fucking arm was awesome, right? Where'd that go? Like, where did that show go? I was kind of hoping that this would have not been junk. And, enjoyable junk, right? But it's admittedly the weakest show of the season that I did enjoy. So, it's still got an episode or two to go, and it's like, it's fine, Anyway, In the Clear Moonlit Dusk, certainly probably the best show, along with Sentenced to be a Hero, because it was Shiboyugi, it was In the Clear Moonlit Dusk, polar opposites, and this, it was just like, all right, these 4 shows kind of always bounce back and forth between, like, really good. Nothing was, like, matching Frieren, duh. But Frieren has the advantage of being, like, one of my favorite shows, and potentially, like, one of the highest rated shows ever. So it's not fair, and it is a sequel show. So it's like, of the new stuff, I would say these 4 shows were fine. I think Shiboyugi's probably the weakest of the 4, just because it overstays its welcome. It sucks because I really liked that first episode, but, But In the Clear Moonlit Dusk does the thing I wish they hadn't have done. Forced love triangle nonsense. Because I was fearing that this was going to happen. Because, again, the whole second to last episode syndrome and all that crap. But, like I said before, I was fearing that the other guy, because that's all I can remember. I remember Kohaku's name, and yet I can't remember the other dude's name. They go out and they do a thing because they met and they were going to do a thing to help his sister. But then, they get to talking and they realize that they have feelings for each other, or at least it's a one-sided sort of, because that's what it is it's more of a one-sided crush, and even he admits it, and he still goes through with it. And then it dawns on her, and again, I think he's a nice dude, but nothing like the combative chemistry and of Yoi and Kohaku is like cool, and it's like I want it, and it's fun, because it's been building for the entire season, and it's like, yeah, they have their screw ups, but they still like each other a lot, and then they have good chemistry. And this is just kind of like, why do you have the second dude? Why is he acting on it? Forced drama. Oh boy, because you just know that like he's not gonna get chosen anyway. So like the only thing I like is what the reaction's gonna be. But even I know that it's like, I've seen this go on every fucking time. Normally I don't hate love triangles. I would like them more if they weren't so obvious. I think my problem is it's so obvious that it's like, you showed up too late. You're not the main dude, so that's your problem. You're not the main dude, so you're not going to win anyway. Why are you doing this now to do forced drama? I could be wrong. There's every chance. Look, there's every goddamn chance. I've seen like 3 or 4 shows in my lifetime, which is a long time, where the non-obvious person ended up with the main lead, and it was like, oh, okay. But again, that's like 4 shows in the span of, I've been watching this for like 25 years now. I know they're not going to go anywhere. So I like it, and I also am just kind of like, yeah, no. It would have been fine if you hadn't done anything. Well, whatever. I still like the main leads, and it's a fun show. So unless they really balls up the ending, I still think it's going to be up there. That's it for winter. I mean, I'll keep talking about winter stuff as the final shows of the ones that I didn't get to filter back in. But, let's see, there's a lot of dubs out here. There's a lot of stuff. I will say that I do want to... Oh, sorry. 1 second. Just something on Discord for a second. The shows I've been watching so far are Ramparts of Ice and Dorohedoro Season 2. What I like about Dorohedoro is that Netflix has a few episodes already made, so I can dive right into the Season 2 right away with a few and catch up. Or if not, I can just do it at my own pace and enjoy it. This show, I don't think I talked about Season 1. I do want to probably set its own episode eventually. But Dorohedoro is about these crazy people in this crazy world doing like weird shit and fighting with superpowers, and it's very grimy and disgusting and weird, and I love it. It's one of those. It's basically Gachi Akuta with more blood and more lizard people, or people with lizard heads that bite the fucking head into people, and they go nuts, and they see a person inside and say, I don't fucking know. It's weird. Describing it's weird. It's also got mushrooms in it. But no mushrooms in this episode. It was more focused on Shin and Noe. And they go to this house. They're trying to, like, this professor dude's trying to meet his wife, and they find out it's basically like Resident Evil 7, where it's a bunch of fucking serial killers. And they just get into fight scenes, and they go crazy with knives and other swords and shit. So, lots of blood. It's a bunch of fighting with a lot of fucking blood in it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I haven't seen you in about 6 to 8 months, because that's when I first watched the show. It was about a half a year ago. I'm right back in. I love this thing. It's fucking weird and messed up and bloody, and I like it, and it's played for laughs. So, like, I'm happy to be in it. I will say, there's not a bunch else out, because I don't know of these shows, like, what's gonna happen, like, when they're gonna debut, what they're gonna be about, when they're gonna debut a dub so I can watch it. I will say, and I think I've done this episode already, or done an episode on Ascendance of a Bookworm already, but I did it on like the first 3 seasons, and if I hadn't, I really fucking should. But Ascendance of a Bookworm was great, but it's taken quite a few years to get to season 4, and now they're getting to season 4. I really think that that's probably going to be my favorite show, along with Dorohedoro, for different reasons. Because I think like A Sentence of a Bookworm fits in that same mode of Spice and Wolf, and less comedic and more tuned to chemistry and stuff. But I still think the main lead has her fun moments, and they do enough. I remember rewatching the first few seasons, and I forgot how serious like her condition was and what she does to people when she is, when mine is really fucking pissed off. She really gets pissed, and it gets heavy. There are some heavy moments in Ascendance of a Bookworm, and I think I talked about it. I have to go back and look how much I actually did, because it could have just been the first season and the first two. But man, I really enjoyed it on my second run through. So I think that show is going to carry me quite a bit. Dorohedoro is going to fit perfectly. To a lesser extent, Classroom of the Elite. I mean, it's in its fourth season, and I like it, but it's one of those where, for its good moments, it tends to go very slowly and is very methodical and procedural. And, nobody's really a good person. So it's kind of like, And it's more that Ayana Koji is just a dork who has this dumb look on his face, and yet he's like the smartest dude in the planet who's a fucking asshole. It's just kind of off-putting sometimes, because I understand why he's an off-putting asshole, but the fact that he basically retcons every single situation, as in, I knew how the answer was going to go, so I do it, it's kind of like a mystery novel, except you're set in school and everything is going to be fucked up, except I'm the one who's going to win. And it's just like, I mean, I like him and I like the show, but it does kind of, I don't know. It's not perfect, is what I'm trying to say. And there's other stuff like Beginning After the End, which was a junk food show a couple of seasons ago, if not an entire year ago. That's coming back. Let's see. There's like 10 or 15 shows that I could list off, but I don't know anything about them. And I've already talked a bunch about the winter stuff. But let's see. What is this list of stuff? We have Ancients of the Four Seasons, Dance of Spring. An observation log of my fiance who calls herself a villainess. I'm expecting a drop right there just by the name. I don't know if I've ever seen a villainous show and thought, I'm actually going to watch this. I think the only time that was the Ray Leona is at the Duke's mansion, and she wasn't a villainess. So it wasn't a villainous show. It was an isekai in an otome game kind of thing. Or a book. So, Demons of the Shadow Realm. Let's see. I Want to End This Love Game. Liar Game. Marriage Toxin in all caps, just like Liar Game. Mistress Kanan is devilishly easy. This could either be really funny or really stupid, or both. The Drops of God. The Klutzy Class Monitor and the Girl with the Short Skirt. Just some of those names just don't fill me with confidence. The Warrior Princess and the Barbaric King. That could be like one of the. I'm trying to think. There was a couple of shows for a couple of years where it's like the princess or the damsel in distress gets married off to this culture and this king of this neighboring land who's like a like demi-human or full-on like giant fucking animal guy. Like that was a thing for a while. In a couple of shows, where it started becoming a trend and then wasn't really a trend much. This was weird, but I know that sort of thing. It's kind of going to be weird. And then Witch Hat Atelier, or Witch Hat Atelier, excuse me. So again, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's like 10 or 15 shows outside of the ones that I already know I'm going to watch. So I still kind of marvel that I was at like 8 to 10 shows last season. I don't expect the hit rate to be as good. But there's always a chance. There's always a chance that it could be good. And that's what I hope for. Because you always want to hope to have more good stuff than bad. But anyway, that'll do for today. And let's see what's on the docket. Next week, I talk about East Origin, having completed it on my YouTube channel. Hooray! Be the Beginning, Mega Man 5 and X5, Apothecary Diaries with Lee, and then I want to into June. I'm gonna bring back like this one is sort of a re-review, kind of like Bravely Default was, but in a different way. Kind of more of an editorial piece. I talked about East 8 and the way it did progression very well, so I focused on that. This one, I want to focus on Breath of Fire 3, but I've already done the characters, I've already done like the storyline and why I think it works and other stuff like the minigames, but kind of diving in more to as a whole as to why the game is like the perfect version of good enough. It's a game of good enough in like every facet, and not good enough as in junk food good enough. It's like, you heard the term B or B plus, right? The above average. I would say the story of above average, maybe, but the story of good enough. And to be fair, I think that actually fits. So give me 1 second to talk about, the story of above average, because there's no one thing about it that is the best of anything. But it does almost everything well enough that it's like, okay, even if the disparate parts aren't always great, and I would say some of the minigames and some of the characters aren't great, I still think, oh, there's so much here that when I was done playing it, and anytime I relive it, whether I watch it or I replay it, I'm like, my God, this was fucking good. And I always kind of bring it back up as like one of the best RPGs I've ever played. So that's kind of that. It's the story of above average. But that'll do for this week, and hopefully by the time the next couple of episodes roll around, the winter stuff will be done, and I will get fully into spring episodes. But that'll do for today, and I will see you guys next time. Citizen Strife, signing off.